Hello there, everybody. It is me, Countess, back with a humdinger of a video. I'm going to see how well I can get through this one, guys, because what I'm going to show you guys today is in line with what I have been doing, kind of going over some of Bill's past songs that he's written, kind of dissecting the lyrics and the symbolism that he puts into his lyrics. Well, I came upon the Standing Stone, Paul McCartney's Standing Stone. We're all very familiar with that because of the awesome research that Stephen Fawber and John Lennox did, trekking out. John and his wife went out to the farm in Campbellton, Scotland. Stephen, they worked together brilliantly to prove the theory, basically, that the Standing Stone is a marker of where Paul McCartney, number 9, rests. That is where his remains are, under the rhododendrons, right? So I just decided it had been a few years actually since I had actually sat and listened through the Standing Stone concert. It's really beautiful, didn't get a lot of good reviews, but Billy writes this epic poem, guys, with the beautiful, symphonic compositions that he wrote by using the Cubase sequencing software. He claims that he doesn't know how to read or write music, but he's able to score these beautiful orchestral, pieces. And he was supposedly able to, play a keyboard connected to a computer that would transcribe the notes he was playing into the actual noted musical notes. So listening to it, I started listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics to this song, it's not even a song, it's a epic 4-part. It has 4 movements in it, and each movement has a series of songs in it. And the poem is this like grand epic poem, an ode to his integration with Paul McCartney. More evidence pointing to Paul McCartney's Standing Stone. This, like I said, this is a long poem. I will post the lyrics on the page. You guys can pause them and read them yourselves if you'd like. I'll leave links to the website in the description box below of where I got the lyrics from. I'm just going to go through basically a summary of each movement, highlight the lines that are very telling, and kind of discuss some of the points that those lines make. And we'll just see, I'll see what you guys think. I'm really curious to know. So I'm going to try to walk through this, guys. The movements. So I just want to start off with, Bill says that when he wrote this piece, The Standing Stone, he was attempting to describe a way that a Celtic man might have wondered about the origins of life and the mystery of existence. And the first movement is called After Heavy Light Years, and it has 3 different songs in the movement. The first song is Fire and Rain. The second is Cell Growth. And the third is called Human Theme. And basically this movement is a sort of Big Bang kind of form of existence coming about. He uses beautiful language in this poem, beautiful imagery in this poem. His occult knowledge shines greatly in this poem. And I just find it very interesting. There are like references in this first movement. The lyrics, these are all the lyrics in the whole movement for all 3 songs. So they're all kind of split up. The lyrics of the poem are split up with the different songs. But towards the end, when, you know, he's talking about the fire and rain, that he says, wept sky, swept and gray, a rainbow bridge cuts mountain tops. You know, a rainbow bridge, you think of like when your pet dies, right? They go to the rainbow bridge. But it's also symbolic of a mythical overpass that connects heaven with the earth. Very symbolic there. And he's talking in this first movement about a sort of creation story based on evolution. And then so we get to the second movement. The second movement is titled, He Awoke Startled. There are 5 songs in this movement. The first song being called Meditation. The second is The Crystal Ship. Third one is Sea Voyage. Fourth one is called Lost at Sea. And number 5 is Release. This one has a lot in it regarding the goddess of Thelema, one of the goddesses of Thelema, Nut. And it's just very interesting, some of the lines that he talks about. In the very first stanza, he says at the bottom, the first person singular wanted, he didn't know what. The first person singular. It's a very curious way of putting it. And down on the second stanza, it says, he sought the source, and a crystal ship slipped and shone in the sunlight. Okay, so I was talking about Nut, right? Okay, so Nut is the Egyptian mother goddess, the queen of heaven, basically. She is a goddess that the Lamanites worship. And basically, Nut is the infinite space and the infinite stars thereof. And Crowley, in his Thoth Tarot deck, the star tarot card from Crowley, shows the goddess Nut as the Aquarian. That is the card of the age of Aquarius, the Aeon of Horus, the crystal ship. Nuit is sitting on top of a nest of quartz crystal. So quartz crystal has been linked with the New Age, and it's been linked with this Aeon of Horus. Nuit is the bringer of the new Aeon. That is what Crowley is showing in that card. She is a goddess that is to be worshipped, the goddess of the sky who gave birth to Osiris, Horus, Seth, Isis, and Nephthys, I think. So quartz crystal, the crystal ship, you know, even the Doors sing about the crystal ship. That is like imagery of, you know, Nuit is said to be the one who carries the sun, Ra or Horus, carries the sun every day on her back and gives birth to it every day, carries it across the sky. She is the goddess of heaven, the queen of heaven. She's what, the Virgin of Guadalupe is versed off of, Mother Mary, Queen of Heaven. Just very interesting imagery there that correlates to this Aeon of Horus. Very, very interesting. So towards the end there, he uses in this poem the dualistic symbolism of white birds, which represent peace and unity and harmony, which is what the crystal represents as well. Crystals represent harmony. That's why people, have them around for different sort of frequencies. Some people really think that they can feel the energy sourced from the crystals. It brings harmony, just like a white bird. And in this last stanza here, this is very interesting, the last one of the second movement. It starts off saying, white bird silent over crystal bow. The vessel sped through beads of spray that slapped his happy face and filled his soul with glory song. His nostrils snorted blasts of ocean air. In thanks for my survival, I'll put up a monument of stone where I put in. Yes. In thanks of my survival. This is to me, and I don't know if you guys can see this either, but when he says, in thanks for my survival, I'll put up a monument of stone where I put in, that is like Paul's survival through Billy. Paul being tied to that monument of stone. It's like, whoa. Okay, so then moving into the third movement. The third movement is titled Subtle Colors Merged Soft Contours. Contours are kind of like sharp. I think of them as like sharp kind of edges that bring a sort of darkness to, and this movement also mentions a lot of different color symbolism. But the songs in this third movement, the very first one is called Safe Haven / Standing Stone. A safe haven for somebody's monument. The second song is called The Peaceful Movement. The third is called Messenger, and that ties into the birds as well. Birds are symbols of messengers of the divine. Number 4 is called Lament. to lament is to have a sort of passionate expression of grief or sorrow. Grief or sorrow, grief that Paul passed, grief that Bill essentially passed away. He had to form a new identity with all of these dissolved pieces of himself and of Paul. And that is that just makes me think of, you're lamenting, you're grieving loss. And this is loss on an epic scale because it affects both of the souls that are dwelling as one within Bill's body. The fifth song is called Trance. And so you think of a trance as the definition of trance is that it's a half-conscious state characterized by an absence of response to external stimuli. So you're just, you know how the trance goes. And again, this kind of, it's just very interesting. The sixth song is Eclipse. So again, very interesting symbolism here. And I'll go through some of the lines that are in this movement that really do kind of give this, puts this all into perspective a little bit. So on the fifth stanza of the poem, it says, these companions walked with his joy towards the settlement and spoke of how long they expected him, how they long expected him. Still as stones that lined their path, his shepherd's daughter listened to his story. Her father sang of local life and introduced each character and scene. Farmer, warrior, milkmaid, thief, shaman, housewife, woodsman, fool. They made him welcome, and before he slept, agreed to help him hoist his stone. Wow. Okay, so, just the reference, the shepherd's daughter, is that, a little wink to his namesake? Perhaps. He is the shepherd, right? He mentions different characters. The warrior, that makes me think of his ties, his ancestral Celtic ties to William Wallace. And he mentions the fool himself. All of this is to me sounds like Bill has made Paul welcome, and before Paul died, agreed to help him hoist his stone. This is just what these lyrics say to me, just going through them. It's crazy. So then the next stanza after that goes, rope and muscle, sweat and tackle, raised a weather finger to the sky. Soon the sacred stone bedded in its depths the aspirations of their anxious souls, a place of peace where he and she would meet. He and he would meet. The transmigration of McCartney's soul into the shepherd's soul, body, if you will. I find it very interesting. A couple stanzas down from that, he writes, panic scampered through the people's veins, poisoned rats in a pot of grain. The visitor fell, still to seek an answer. The shepherdess, his love, took him to the standing stone and poured an ancient potion. I really want to know what that alludes to. What is the ancient potion? You know, the visitor fell, still to seek an answer. And so the shepherdess is supposed to be the woman, but, you know, as we have learned, those gender roles with Bill, he plays with them and substitutes her when it should be a he, you know, so the pronouns are inverted with him a lot. So we could even look at that as, you know, Paul fell to seek an answer, and Bill took him to the standing stone and poured an ancient potion. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. This movement also mentions colors all throughout it. It has mentions of greens, of blue, of red, of purple. Blue and red are the base elements. Combined together, you get purple. That is the royal art of alchemy, the great work. That's where purple becomes a signifier for royalty, for power. There is a quote that is very, just kind of interesting. He says, he looked up and saw a spirit force stretch easy into space. So powerful, he trembled and believed. Like, that makes me think of Osiris, the sky god, you know, Osiris / Horus, because Osiris became the god of the underworld when he died, but before he was Horus, the senior, the falcon god of the sky. Yes, so just very interesting imagery, because Osiris represents resurrection, basically, and it's just very interesting. It says, a wall of peeled black veils revealed a face unlike another, visions, visage, gentle, genteel, masculine mouth, female eyes, a face to steal. The mouth spoke slower than words. You were sent to help the people here. Their invaders' greatest fear is that the sky will fall. Say you'll make this happen, and in 2 days' time, the moon will be eclipsed. Wow. Oh, goodness. So he says, visions, visage, gentle and genteel. You know, visions, that makes me think of Paul's visions of his death, his visions of his replacement, his visions of Bill. You know, I like the wordplay here, visions and visage. Visage is basically an expression on a person's face. So it is, he's talking about visions of a face, gentle and genteel. So gentle facial expression, but very refined and respectable. That is Mr. Billy McCartney, right? The more refined Paul McCartney. It's just very interesting. And then he says masculine mouth and female eyes, a face to steal. The mouth spoke slower than words. A face to steal, guys. There you go. We're done. Mic drop. Right there. You know, it is screaming to us that And he even talks about, you know, when the newcomer comes on the scene, he's welcomed back with skeptical acclaim. He told those who would be told. So people doubted Bill when he came as the replacement, right? People doubted him. People were very skeptical, especially people in the inner circle, but they did end up accepting him. He told to those who would be told. Only certain people knew about that switch, about the actual replacement. I just find it very funny that he's like laying it out here, guys. Like I said, this is just more evidence that points to the standing stone being Paul McCartney's resting place. This poem is like an ode to him and Paul's, you know, Paul's transmigration, his soul transmigrating into Billy. Okay, so then we go to the fourth and final movement. It is called Strings Pluck, Horns Blow, Drums Beat. There are 5 songs in this movement. First one is called Glory Tales. The second one is called Fugal Celebration. Third one is called Rustic Dance. The fourth, Love Duet. And 5, Celebration. Again, this is just summing it up. You know, he brings up birds again and butterflies, but, you know, birds are the messengers of the divine goddess Newt, right? Up at the beginning stanza, he says, the warrior at peace with peace, like thief, resolved to turn a leaf. You know, you're resolved to starting over again. That's basically what the alchemical idea is, right? You join 2 beings together, 2 base materials together to get a new beginning in a new form. It's all about like resurrection symbolism, Paul living on through Billy, but the standing stone being the marker of Paul's resting place. Yes. So kind of interesting here. You know, there is, like I said, the third the third song in this movement is called Rustic Dance, and that made me think of a quote from Crowley, the 15th ether of the vision and the voice. He says, as the dancer whirls, she chants in a strange low voice, quickening as she goes, lo, I gather up every spirit that is pure and weave him into my vesture of flames. And by my dancing, I gather them for my mother Newt, the heads of all them that are baptized in the waters of life. Talking about Babylon, the whore. Getting the bloods of the saints into the cup of Babylon, Mystery Babylon the Great. But I just find that interesting. You know, he's talking about being in a trance and dancing, and it just made me think of that. A fugal celebration. You know, he said he wanted the audience to leave this concert on a high note, on something positive. And what's more positive than celebration? You've moved into the Aeon of Horus. Let's celebrate. The goddess Newt has taken care of everything, and we're here. You know, at the very end of this poem, he says, you know, the the lovers in the lovers duet, the guy and the girl vow their love to each other. Again, coming together to become one flesh. At the very end of the poem, it says, "No kingdom could have crowned him with more joy than her." And then it goes out saying, "An impossibly distant blackbird circled overhead and wondered why so many bite-sized creatures spent their lifetime running on the spot." Blackbirds, in contrast with the white birds, blackbirds symbolize deep knowledge. They symbolize the unseen. So it's just very interesting that he ends with that. It is a symbol of transformation, a message from the divine, a message from Newt. That is what this is. And that is, I tried to get through this the best I could. It's a lot of information. Like I said, I'll leave links so you guys can read the lyrics yourself and go through it, but the symbolism is there. The evidence is supporting to the actual physical evidence, that standing stone with the measurements and, you know, where it's located, and just awesome, awesome research that John and Stephen did. The actual poem of the standing stone supports that theory 100%. He talks about, you know, the birth of this new age, basically spawned from the abundance of Newt, I don't going back to that idea of the Lima and Egyptian mythology and the great mysteries, the mysteries of, you know, existence. Just like he talked about, this was supposed to be a man imagining, an ancient man imagining how the world began. But I believe that this is an ode to basically how Bill's world began. His world is Paul McCartney, and that he is safeguarding Paul up at that farm. Just like famous groupies said, someday they're going to tear up that old barn, and someday they're going to find that missing man. You bet your bottom dollar it may happen in our lifetime. It may not, but it will happen one day. I know it will. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this one. I know it was a lot to kind of wrap your head around in 30 minutes, but I tried. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, guys, take care. Bye.
But though they may be parted, there is still a chance, Bill, that they will see.